A reading from the second book of Samuel. David returned from his rout of the Amalekites and spent 2 days in Ziklag. On the third day, a man came from the camp where Saul had been, his garments torn and earth on his head. When he came to David, he fell to the ground and did homage. "Where do you come from?" David asked him. "I have escaped from the Israelite camp," he said. David said to him, "What happened? Tell me." He replied, "The people have fled from the battlefield, and many of them have fallen. Saul and his son Jonathan are dead too." Then David took hold of his garments and tore them, and all the men did the same. They mourned and wept and fasted until the evening for Saul and his son Jonathan, for the people of the Lord, and for the house of Israel, because they had fallen by the sword. Then David made his lament over Saul and his son Jonathan. "Alas, the glory of Israel has been slain on your heights. How did the heroes fall? Saul and Jonathan loved and lovely, neither in life nor in death were divided. Swifter than eagles were they, stronger were they than lions. O daughters of Israel, weep for Saul, who clothed you in scarlet and fine linen, who set brooches of gold on your garments. How did the heroes fall in the thick of the battle? O Jonathan, in your death I am stricken. I am desolate for you, Jonathan, my brother. Very dear to me you were, your love to me more wonderful than the love of a woman. How did the heroes fall, and the battle armor fail?" The word of the Lord.
I remember when I was growing up, we lived in a very small town in the northwestern part of Cameroon called Jakiri. And there used to be a very notorious thief in this place, very notorious, because he was well known. He was known as a thief. And many people would literally give him allowances so that he doesn't break into their homes. It was as bad as that. And there was a time even he went to break into the parish house. There was a Mihil priest there at that time who had started a project, and he took all the money and everything with his gang, and they ran away. Everybody knew he was the one. The police were even afraid of him. Everybody was scared of him. So you wouldn't even dare going after him. But there was this day that he met with his fate, and he met these tribal people. He wanted to rob from them because they had gone to sell their cattle. And on their way back, they were attacked by this guy and his gang, and these people decided to fight them. And eventually he was killed in the course of that, he was killed. And I remember that day, I was still a boy at that time. People brought out drums and dances, and people were really rejoicing that he had died. I mean, the whole place was really like, there was like something great that happens, and people were rejoicing. It was like a second Christmas. People were rejoicing, people were dancing. And at that time he had a girlfriend, and when he was buried, the girlfriend went and put flowers on his grave, and because of that he was banished from the land. He was told never to come to step foot on that place again because of what she had done. To tell you how much people did not want that man to exist. And it's a common thing when somebody is not good, when we have a common enemy, we always wish for that person to die, to depart, so that people can have peace somehow. And you think about presidents in different countries, like in Africa, there are many countries who are praying that their president should die fast, and they could have some peace, or the nation could go to another level. And it happens in different communities. And what do you think about people that you don't like, people you feel are a nuisance to the community? It's always our wish or our prayer at times that such people could depart. I remember also celebrating Mass someday, and no, before celebrating Mass, I was given the intentions to read, and unfortunately, I had not read those intentions before, but there was one of the intentions where somebody had written, God, please kill this person, and wrote the name of the person, writing that somebody should die, And it tells you, and I did not know what to do, but in the end, I don't know what I babbled, but I did not read that out like that, because I don't think God will pray that God should kill somebody. But somehow, secretly, or at the back of our mind, we always pray for some people to die. And this is exactly what happens in the first reading of today, that Saul had been wanting David to kill David, like I had been saying in the past few days. He had been hunting him. And even at this time, David is somehow self-banished. He cannot go back to his own land because of the fear of Saul. And then take yourself as David. And then you hear of this good news that this man brings today in the gospel. And he says, there has been a war, and many Israelites have died, including Saul. What will you do if you are David? I'm sure you would rejoice. I'm sure you will be happy and say, at last, now I can go back. Now I am free. I'm not going to be afraid again. But this is not what happened. David wept for the death of Saul. David really cried from the depths of his heart. Because even though Saul was his enemy, he still loved him because he was God's anointed. He was king of Israel. Even though Saul hated him, he loved him even more. And what does that tell us about our lives as Christians? Like I said yesterday, in the Sermon of the Mount, Jesus talks about love for enemies and praying for those who persecute us and people who hate us. And David is a clear example of somebody who is living this out. And this is what we are supposed to live out in our daily lives. Praying for those who hate us. Not rejoicing because they have died. Not rejoicing because they have fallen. Not rejoicing because they have stumbled. Because life is working against them and we feel, oh, they really deserve it. Oh, it is supposed to be like that. Actually, it's punishment from God. And we are rejoicing because of the downfall of our enemies. This is exactly what makes us different from other Christians, from other people. This is what makes us Christians, that we go an extra mile to pray for those who persecute us, to love even those we call our enemies. In actual fact, we have only one enemy, the devil. As human beings, we could never be enemies to each other because we are all made in God's image and likeness. It doesn't matter how much we have deviated from God. We are all children of God. We are all sons and daughters of God. We are all adopted children of God. And we have an inheritance in heaven. And so we must, at all times, even when we have misunderstandings, we must dare to pray for each other. We must dare to love each other, even in those situations. And I'm not talking to you as if I love my enemies. I'm not talking to you as somebody who has overcome this. All of us are on this journey of the love for enemies, which is so difficult. And if we love our enemies, then it will be much easier to forgive them when they hurt us. It will be much easier to say, even though this person has done this to me, I am going to forgive this person from my heart. If we truly love our enemies, then it becomes impossible to be unforgiving, to say, I have this unforgiveness in me. No. If we really love our enemies, if we really regard each other as being made in the image and likeness of God, as sons and daughters of God, then it will be different. My dear brothers and sisters, David teaches us a very great example, that he would not dare rejoice in the death of Saul, even though Saul was trying in every way to eliminate him, to kill him. No, he cried and he mourned at his death. Let us therefore ask the intercession of our Mother Mary that we may have the strength and the grace to pray even for those who persecute us, for those who hate us, and to wish them well at all times. And in this way, we will be fulfilling our call as Christians, as sons and daughters of God.